What has gradually disappeared over the last 10 years, without people really noticing? Story 1: Ownership. You pay a subscription, you can't fix what you own because it's proprietary, you can't buy outright. Our ownership of things has become a rental service, where they can break or completely remove what we purchased without consent at any time, because it was in the terms of service. Story 2: Small independent hardware stores. They used to be a small town staple, especially in the Midwest. Almost everyone used to be the oldest business in town, having been open since like 1895. Now, they're all mostly gone, and your only alternative is a big box hardware store or ordering on Amazon. It's incredibly depressing. Story 3: Online spaces for kids. When I was a child, we had several online places made for children. Every single children's TV channel had a website with games for kids. There were several online games geared towards children like Club Penguin, etc. Now, if you're a 10-year-old, you either rot your brain with shitty YouTube videos or you rot your brain with social media. Story 4: The convenience and accessibility promised by the internet of the 2000s and 2010s that is gradually taken away from us. I bought a season of a show on Amazon a few years back, and they seem to have somehow lost the rights to the original, so now I can only access the dub version, which I don't like. The show now is only available on a streaming service that doesn't exist in my country, so I got VPN, only to find out that I can't pay for the streaming service without a credit card. So now, I just order the box set again, like I would have done 15 years ago. It's not just the streamers. I remember when website loading times were the topic when talking about browsers, but now every website you open requires for you to take 2 minutes to close 5 legal questions and pop up, "Do you want to register horseshit?" with the excess hidden in different spots every time. There are ads everywhere, and even if you buy the premium version of things, there are still more ads within the content. All for you never buy. Places like YouTube remove functioning like and dislike features so that you can't tell what videos you can simply skip. Google also seems to be less efficient than it was 8 years ago, and finding anything online has become a chore. All new security measures they introduce just steal your time and life energy. You want to log into Netflix on your PC, but you can't because it needs to be registered as a temporary device. They send you a email, but to open the email, they need you to enter a code they send to your phone, which is in the other room. So you go get it, and once you've entered the code and opened Netflix, you forgot what you even wanted to watch in the first place. Don't get me started on all the updates everything seemingly needs to do every other week. Story 5: Small phones. Remember the pre-smartphone era, when manufacturers raced to make phones smaller and smaller. Then the iPhone was launched, and everyone thought it was too big at the time, but now even that looks tiny. Now even cheap smartphones are huge, like mini tablets, and barely fit into pockets. Story 6: In the least sarcastic sense possible. Critical thinking and self-reflection. It's really a struggle to engage with people these days who aren't capable of putting their bias and personal beliefs aside to think big picture or critically about any issue. People just jump straight to personal insults, fallacies, and needing to feed their ego. Story 7: Childhood. As a parent, I feel fighting an uphill battle by keeping our screen-free kids need to be taught how to play, how to interact with other humans. They don't even go out to play with friends anymore. It's all online. Story 8: People reading actual books in parks and public transport. It's a joy to see someone on the train with a book in their hands. I always smile and take a squiz at what they're reading and do a little squee if it's something I've read. Edit 1: Not saying people are illiterate, just noticing the move from physical books to device audiobooks. Edit 2: I'm Australian. Squizla, give us a squiz. Let me have a look. Story 9: Oh, Harry's a good one. Clowns. Quick backstory. I did social work for a bit, and my guy liked clowns a lot, would try to find clown-related stuff, and it was impossible. Clowns in the traditional sense, children's entertainers, not creepy Pennywise art ones, have been pretty much completely phased out of American culture. There are more clown characters in TV shows, advertising, movies, parks, etc. You pretty much won't find clowns entertaining children's parties or charities. Think about how prevalent they were before, like 2010. Ronald McDonald was one of the biggest mascots on the planet. He's not their spokesman anymore. Bozo was still incredibly popular. Lunette had a popular TV show. They were hired to do tricks for birthday parties. The Shriners had clown shows. After the remake of it and those viral creepy clown sightings, they were completely dropped by the public. The only depiction of clowns in the media now is the killer, creepy clown trope. I think about this sometimes, and it legitimately bumps out. Story 10:1: Empathy. 2. Not sure how to word this, but just not being expected to interact socially. Like if someone texts me, it's expected that I get back to them ASAP and that I'm obligated to be available anytime my phone revives a ding. Back in the day, if you miss a call, you just call back when you can. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. I've been awake far too long already this morning. Story 11: I live in Japan. Most of the stuff mentioned here is still alive and well in Japan. That's because Japan has been stuck in the year 2000 since the 80s. Story 12, the ability to hold a conversation with people that hold a different POV. It seems today that everyone just wants their opinion validated. It is nice to feel validated, but I only ever felt like I have actually somewhat improved when I had to properly support my stance. The thing is, only if I can properly support my ideas, I can say that I really understand what I'm saying. And if I'm wrong, I learned something I didn't before, or at the very least, I can have a better understanding of what we're talking about. Story 13, definitely diversity of thought and the ability to listen, critical thinking skills. A lot of people here have said civility, but I wonder how much of this is the if it bleeds, it leads aspect of the internet and the 24-hour news cycle. I haven't actually seen any evidence of in-person civility decreasing, and I have CPTSD, so I'm pretty sensitive to that kind of thing. The consequence-free aspect of internet anonymity has been a dumpster fire. People have always had partly shitty thoughts. It doesn't necessarily mean they act on them. Now we perceive everyone's attitudes online as a reflection of IRL, but it's really not. We weren't evolved to handle knowing what's going on with everyone everywhere at all times. The internet algorithm feeds have been a complete disaster for people's mental health, including my own. I nuked all of my social media last year and avoid the news and things I have no control over like the plague. I set YouTube to not track my history, so it isn't screaming clickbait in my face every time I open it. Now, besides the right-hand column when I open a video which I resist looking at, I only see things I search for, which is mostly music and gear demos. I subscribe to the people I like to at least give them some support. Story 14, not just 10 years, but through the decades worker unions edit. It's funny how people yell America's centrism. While this is also the case in the Netherlands, I don't see wolves, so they don't exist much. Story 15, the general decline of public services. It's become normalized for public health, schools, council-run services to all be worse. Teachers, nurses, fire services all at breaking point and more cuts announced. All because we can't afford it. Someone's making money, and it certainly isn't the working class. Story 16, fun hobbies. Everything is a side hustle or has developed an ultra-competitive pro scene that is so overly intimidating, it just ruins the entire think time. If you're not the best, you're worthless, GG and UB. No one wants to play with you, nah bro. You're the one ruining it. Cringe much? Story 17, the concept of decades. Hear me out. This is a whole rant of mine. Before the turn of the century, we talked about the passing of time in terms of decades. We had a shared cultural understanding of what the 70s looked and felt like, and we all were nostalgic for the same things when we talked about 80s music or that 90s paper cup. As you read these things, the cultural meanings flash in your head. Probably even if you weren't alive then. Then 2000 happened, and we didn't know what to call that decade. Some people tried the aughts, but that didn't stick. In 2010, some people tried the teens, but it wasn't the teens yet. Still 10, 11, 12. By 2020, we were totally out of practice with decades, plus we had other stuff on our minds in 2020. Since then, we've completely abandoned the idea of decades. The dominant model for people experiencing time together these days is generations. We're totally obsessed with generations now, exactly the way we were with decades back then. This is a problem. First of all, decades were a common, shared experience. We all were passing through those experiences together. We all know what 80s fashion looks like, even if the 80s predate you, whereas generations are fundamentally divisive. Now we have fights between Gen Z versus Boomer, as just one example. Hey, race another back in the early 90s when someone said something culturally obsolete or fumbled with the early internet. Would say, welcome to the 90s. It was a fairly common expression. For anyone not from then, today the term for exactly the same expression is okay, boomer. Actually, it's nearly the same expression. Welcome to the 90s was like, come on, join us, get with the times, whereas okay, boomer is you and your cohort are hopeless dinosaurs, and all I can do with you is dismiss you. Again, one is inclusive, the other divisive. And then it used to be that we'd hit a new decade, and it would feel new. It would feel like we were in the future. We had a chance to shed the previous decade and invent new. This is why 70s and 80s clothes were so different. These days, my kid points and laughs at millennial fashion, which I understand means what people were wearing in 2004. Thing is, it's so subtly different from what people wear right now compared to 70s versus 80s. 2005 music is a lot like 2015 music, which is a lot like 2025 music, at least compared to the vast differences between, say, 60s music and 70s music. We no longer have this 10-year cadence of reinvention, and so cultural change has become a slow, subtle smear over the last 25 years. I think this is why time feels so weird lately, both hardly moving at all and also racing past. Decades gave us a framework for parsing time in chunks, for understanding it both as it passed and in retrospect. Whereas Gen X like me is a thing, frozen in amber while time rushes by around it. So, in trying to make the 20s happen, join me. We need decades back. Welcome to the 20s. Story 18, Sound of the Crickets. Fun fact: crickets, fireflies, etc. are all signs of healthy ecosystem and air. You still get these things in small towns in the Midwest, but in most big cities the air is so bad they're gone. Story 19, reading material in waiting rooms. This leads most people to look at their phone or other device, even if they're trying to reduce screen time. I used to enjoy the variety of magazines and topics I wouldn't have at home. Story 20, those huge PC cases that were all the rage. Most PC cases now are tiny in comparison. No need for multiple GPUs and optical drives anymore, so the cases have shrunk. Just took an old 3rd Gen i7 system apart in one of them, and forgot how much of a pain they were to work with. My back thanks you. Story 21, ownership. We used to own a physical CD, DVD. Now everything is a subscription. Want to use this feature in your car? Subscription. Want to watch these movies? Subscription. Music? Subscription. Even renting is basically another form of a subscription. If I bought this car, I shouldn't have to subscribe to Jack to use any and all features of this car. Story 22, everything has become planned obsolescence. Cars, appliances, electronics, tools, and materials being built to last is gone. The price wars have ruined quality as an option. Story 23, the ability to repair things. Get parts for repairing things. Very few companies sell replacement parts anymore, whether tech or mechanical. Cars are the exception, due to a law passed in a certain state, I think Massachusetts. Everything is proprietary, and things are being programmed to reject replacement parts unless approved by the manufacturer. Even if they're OEM, the rabbit hole gets more depressing the further you go. Story 24, the public good. For example, the bandwidth that analog TV broadcasts occupied was once a public good. The public owned that bandwidth. Digital broadcast bandwidth takes up a ton less bandwidth. After the switch to digital, the analog bandwidth remaining was sold off to cell phone providers. You now pay for access to bandwidth you once owned. Story 25, quality furniture. Everything is particle board flat pack IKEA furniture, and entire communities that used to produce decent furniture have been going out of business. Story 26, insects on your windshield, especially during road trips on the highway. I drove from Billings to Denver last summer and had to clean 0 bugs off of my windshield. Story 27, people smoking cigarettes. Rarely ever see or smell it anymore, although it seems like I smell pot smoke everywhere now, which is arguably just as bad. Story 28, someone getting paid for most physical labor. Hear me out, someone used to get paid for delivering milk. Now, I lug it home for free. Someone used to help you load your groceries into the vehicle. Now, I do it for free. Someone used to check everyone out at stores. Now, many customers do it for free. Someone used to get paid to pump gas. Now, the customer does it for free. Furniture used to come assembled. Now, often customers put it together for free. Then there's the fact that instead of providing live help, companies just put out YouTube videos for you to follow and a chatbot for you to talk to if you're struggling. Though that's not really physical, it can often make some physical tasks more drawn out and even more labor intensified if you're already struggling. When I'm really stressed and absolutely exhausted raising my large family, my mom often reminds me it's not, because it's me, it's BC, times really have changed, and I really am doing a lot of extra work that simply wasn't expected of folks years ago. Most of the tasks I listed are reoccurring tasks or necessities. My back is killing me, which I have to say probably wouldn't have been the case years ago. BC labor would have been paid, and within working hours only. I imagine I'm not alone, and that overall health of common folk is declining due to the excessive amount of labor we do both at work and in our daily lives. Story 29, physical food menus at restaurants. I am really done with QR code-based menus. I may sound old, but I do not want to move my phone and scroll through my phone looking at food. I could have done that at home. Story 30, mechanical ability aptitude. Yep, I'm old school. My father made me observe changing the oil, patching the drywall, replacing the garbage disposal, so on. And I'm not referring specifically to younger generations. I live in a large retirement community. 910 of the people here don't even own a screwdriver. They have no clue on doing preventative maintenance and can't fix simple items. Changing an AC filter with getting their wallets out. That self-reliance has disappeared. Story 31, bugs. When is the last time you had to clean your windshield because of bug splats? It used to be every time I stopped for gas. Now it's literally never. I think this one has probably been over more than the last 10 years, more like 20, but it's the first one I thought of. Story 32, intelligence. For even the most minor inconvenience or challenge in the thinking process, people run to the internet. 124-732-9140. Most people are going to open the calculator app without even attempting to calculate it mentally. For creative projects or crafts, the first stop is internet for inspiration. And this has worsened even more recently because of AI. It's the hidden price we pay for the convenience. Story 33: Insects. Scientists believe we are on the cusp of the fifth mass extinction event in Earth's history, and it's because humans are speedrunning existence. Story 34: The preteen. Children are given unrestricted access to social media. They are able to see what teenagers are doing, wearing, and acting like. They go right from child to acting like a teenager in an instant. Girls don't want to go to Claire's anymore. They want Lululemon leggings and crop tops. Boys don't want to go outside or play with Hot Wheels. They want brand-name shoes and iPhone games. It's sad. Story 35: 24-hour pharmacies. My only local option now is a CVS where the pharmacy closes at 6 p.m. It's crazy hard to get scripts if you have a job far away and don't get out exactly at 5 p.m. Story 36: Net neutrality. It's basically gone now, but it took years of legit sites getting pushed to the back of searches while Amazon and Shine get pushed to the front. Unless you know the direct domain you're looking for, you'll get bogged down with garbage. Browsing the web just ain't what it used to be. Story 37: Fireflies. I remember growing up in Missouri, we used to fill jars with them, and they'd glow like a lantern. There were so many it looked like the stars didn't stop at the horizon line. Now I'll visit my hometown and see a handful flying around on a summer night. If I'm lucky, it's really eerie, and it reminds me to cherish beauty when I see it, because it could be gone tomorrow. Story 38: Hardly anyone has a sense of humor anymore. I used to be a humor writer. Became pointless. Also, most people hardly have an attention span anymore. If you can't summarize a conversation into the equivalent of small text, either in person or on cell phone, they've lost interest in 20 seconds. Story 39: Big stereo sound systems. It used to be any time you visited a friend, their dad had one in the living room. I always wondered what all those layers were for and what all the knobs and switches did. Like, you would have a whole layer that was just the equalizer,